Welcome back, everybody. A number of local and international dignitaries, including former South African presidents and President Cyril Ramaphosa, are expected to attend Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi's funeral being held in Ulundi today. He has certainly left his legacy in the South African history with a multifaceted life filled with political controversy and questions regarding his role in influencing the country's democracy. For so many years, he managed to balance his family, political life and his role as the Prime Minister of the AmaZulu nation. To talk more about the political and traditional life of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, we are virtually joined by Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, the Director of the Center for Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University, and Dr. Mphumeleli Ngidi, the political analyst at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Simpiwe. Good morning to our viewers and good morning to my colleague.
Indeed, it's an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us in this very important discussion. And Prof. Mngomezulu, I'm going to start with you. Now, Prince Buthelezi was, as you know, the president of Inkatha Freedom Party since it was founded in 1975 until he retired in 2019. Yet, he remained active within the party. So what lies ahead for the IFP, especially going into next year's elections without him?
That's a million-dollar question which most of us have been trying to unpack, primarily because of the reason you have just stated, that since the formation of Inkatha Nkululeko in 1975, Buthelezi has been the face of the organization. And you recall that just before the 2019 general election, there was going to be a conference, an elective conference of the IFP, which was subsequently cancelled at the 11th hour or postponed at the 11th hour. And the official position provided by the leadership of the organization was that the branches were not ready. But some of us at that time were saying that it would have been unwise. And in fact, I went on to say it would have amounted to political suicide for the IFP to change the face of Buthelezi on the eve of an election. This time around, they have no choice. Buthelezi had relinquished his position as the president of the party, handing over the baton to Velenkosi Hlabisa. And even if he were to be around, the reality of the matter is he was not going to be the face of the party because he had left the position. But the second element, of course, is the fact that he is no more, which means even the advice that he would have provided is no longer available. And that will then test the leadership of the IFP at this point to see if they can stand on their own in the absence of their leader who has served the party for so many years. So indeed, it is a great test, and only time will tell if they were able to pass the test.
Indeed. And Dr. Ngidi, on founding the then Inkatha Nkululeko Yesizwe, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi said in 1974, when he set about gathering leaders together to establish Inkatha, I mean, he set about doing so with the clear intention of not subverting the ANC mission in exile, but of proving to them that democratic opposition to apartheid and non-violent tactics were strategies were still possible. In your view, did he achieve this?
If you could allow me to divert such political questions to Prof. Mngomezulu, because he's more knowledgeable on that one, because I'm more on the traditional side of things, and Prof is more of a historian and also a political analyst.
Okay, Prof. Mngomezulu, I'm going to throw that question back to you.
In fact, it depends on what part you want to emphasize. When Inkatha Nkululeko was formed in 1975, the understanding was that it was going to be the face of the ANC, which had been banned by the apartheid government together with the PAC, which split from the ANC in 1959. Yes, indeed, Buthelezi has correctly, repeatedly said that when he formed Inkatha Nkululeko in 1975, he was not necessarily fighting the ANC. As a matter of fact, there was an agreement between Buthelezi and the ANC leadership in exile, including Oliver Tambo and others, that there must be an organization that is going to be the eyes and ears of the banned ANC and PAC. But then, to avoid upsetting the system, as it were, they opted for Inkatha Nkululeko, which was going to be a cultural movement, or at least was going to pose as a cultural movement, claiming that they were reviving what Inkosi Dinizulu had started in 1922, which was called the Inkatha KwaZulu. So at that, on that score, we would say that it is true that when Inkatha was formed, it was not an adversary of the ANC. And then, of course, you would also recall that from the time the Inkatha was formed in 1975 up until 1979, Buthelezi would regularly go to Lusaka, that is Zambia, where the headquarters of the ANC were located, to report to the ANC about progress made. And then the last meeting, of course, happening in 1979 in London, where Buthelezi and the 17-member delegation reported to the ANC. But by that time, there are members of the ANC or leaders of the ANC who were having second thoughts about working with Buthelezi, saying that by virtue of the fact that he accepted to lead KwaZulu Bantustan, then it meant that he was colluding with the apartheid government. A point he has constantly refuted, saying that even that arrangement was discussed with the ANC, and they agreed that there must be someone who's going to fight the system from within. It's only from 1980 up to 1994 that things went wrong after Buthelezi and the ANC were no longer in constant touch. That is where then we saw the formation of UDF and then subsequently the violence that killed a lot of people in KwaZulu-Natal and of course in present-day Gauteng.
Now, Dr. Ngidi, let's talk about the processes as part of the burial preparations. As we saw yesterday, 2 giraffes and impalas being slaughtered. What's the cultural significance of this?
Yes, thank you. In the past, usually because we have an understanding that Prince Buthelezi was holding a dual position. Was holding dual positions, which includes being the traditional prime minister of the Zulu nation and also as Inkosi Yesizwe Saka Buthelezi, of which he ascended into the throne he was coronated in 1957. The burials of a person of his nature, Inkosi, in the past used to be attended by so many people. As you have seen yesterday, and it will still going to happen today, that Amabutho will be there as the blanket of the nation. So the people usually pay their allegiance and they give a cattle to the family. So the giraffes and the what was brought yesterday was the extension of food. So it's they are giving the family to have an option of more meats. So this is just an extension of meats because cattle at times they are not enough for the consumption of the large number of people who descend to Ulundi today.
And Dr. Ngidi, I suppose one group that is very key in today's ceremonies is the Amabutho, and we've seen just how instrumental they were towards the installation of the current King Misuzulu Kazwelithini, and the process is leading to his instauration. So, what will be the role of Amabutho in today's proceedings?
Amabutho, they accompany a king. Anyone who's of cultural or traditional significance have to be accompanied by the Amabutho. They serve as the blankets of the nation.
Right.
They are the ones who even the caskets. They are the ones who accompany the caskets, and also their role will be to sing the praises, as you've heard them calling his clan name, Shenge Sogalisa. So it's their duty. They have to be everywhere in the proceedings. They are the blankets of the departed person, and also we should remember that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi It was always with AmaZulu. So it will be a good measure that he be accompanied by something that he liked the most, which is the traditional way of living.
Now, Professor Mngomezulu, let me also bring you in. When the liberation movements were unbanned in the early 1990s, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi turned Inkatha into a political party now known as the IFP and was elected as its first president. So how did this period change the course of its political life?
No, it changes significantly on two fronts. One, Inkatha Nkululeko Isizwe was no longer going to be a cultural movement. So it basically delinked from that particular tag and then assumed a new tag of being a political formation, which therefore meant that it was going to contest the election as a political party and it was going to be divorced from the ANC. You will also recall that when the ANC was still in exile, Inkatha used all the three colors of the ANC, that is black, green, and gold. Only when it changed from being a cultural movement to being a political party did it add the other two colors, that is the red and white, to distinguish it from the ANC. So it was a significant moment. And then, of course, the ties that had been there before, it was clear that they were no longer there. But then it didn't necessarily mean that they were going to be enemies, which is why the late Prince Buthelezi kept on emphasizing the point that his membership of the ANC never ended because he was never expelled nor did he resign. And he wanted that to be sorted out. Unfortunately, it didn't happen until his demise. But to answer your question directly, yes, it was a significant moment. And it changed even his identity because it was clear that he was a leader of a political party that was going to form part of the ones that joined the first democratic election. Even when he went to the negotiation table during Kodesa, he didn't go there wearing two hats, one of Inkatha and then one of the ANC. It was clear he was wearing two hats, as my colleague Dr. Ngidi was saying, that of being the leader of Inkatha, but then also that of being the traditional prime minister of the Zulu nation, which is why he negotiated a number of things on behalf of the Zulu king and the Zulu monarchy, including a land, which is why we have Ngonyama Trust, and also including this issue of wanting South Africa to be a federal state, which is why we have provinces today. Because truth be told, the reason why we have provinces today is because of Buthelezi, who wanted South Africa to be a federal state when everybody else was saying it must be a union or a unitary state. Then to meet him halfway, they agreed on forming provinces.
Now, Prof, I suppose it was that divorce from the ANC that has split opinions about his role in politics and his debate around his legacy. Do you think that the family, would be successful in terms of fending off accusations that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi played a role in the death of about, 20,000 people as a result of clashes between the ANC and the IFP? And as we've seen earlier on, his son, Prince Zuzifa, saying that history will vindicate the family and the IFP.
Simpiwe, let us speak the truth to the nation. People died in the 1980s and 1990s, and no single person should be held responsible for that. It's a wide range of people, because there are people who died on the side of the ANC and UDF, and there are people who died on the side of the IFP. So it would be wrong of us to make a claim or to make an accusation on one side, because then the implication would be we are saying that all those thousands of IFP members who died, they killed themselves, which would be historically incorrect. So the reality of the matter is there were deaths on both sides. And on one instance, you would have ANC UDF killing IFP, and then we'll have IFP killing ANC UDF, and then we'll have the third element, that is the apartheid government, which was directly responsible in a number of those killings, orchestrating those killings, either siding with the IFP and then also working clandestinely, pretending to be neutral, but at the same time killing on both sides just to prolong their stay in office. So the killing of people in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng is not a simple matter whereby Buthelezi was the only killer and the ANC was innocent. So there were people killing on both sides and there were people dying on both sides. That is the reality of the matter. As to whether then someone killed more than the other, that will remain debatable. I was in an interview with Mphumeleli Ngidi, we were saying that one of the participants was saying that Buthelezi is responsible for the death of 20,000 people in KwaZulu-Natal. Then Hlabisa said, yes, it's true, an estimated 20,000 people died, but then about 12,000 of them were IFP members and about 8,000 of them were the then ANC UDF. Whether that is true or not, is for me immaterial. The reality is that
Professor Mngomezulu and Dr. Ngidi, unfortunately, we are out of time. This, warrants that we have, the whole day of discussions around this, but time is really not on our side. But we do appreciate, waking up this morning and having this conversation with us. Thank you so much for your time. That was Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, the director of the Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University, and Dr. Mphumeleli Ngidi, the political analyst at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, talking to us about the life and times of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi.